Hello and welcome to episode 62. Just 2 more episodes from the coveted episode 64.
3.
Wait, 3 from what?
I think it's 63.
Well, I'm looking at the docket. It says 62.
I'm looking at the website and it says 63.
So who's wrong? The docket or the website?
We already have a 62.
So I guess the docket is supposed to be 63 is what
Correct.
Jason's saying.
Correct. And one of us flubbed that.
Who is the title updater?
I feel like sometimes I step in when I don't see it changed, but today I did not. So I will take the hit.
I think I'm typically the
And
one that
I will
updates
say
it.
I don't think I've ever updated it ever.
To be fair, you haven't updated anything in this docket in like 3 episodes. Yeah,
I would like to point out, we were just having a
Exactly.
long conversation about this before we went on the mics, before we went to record. Angel just side doors in topics. He's like, I have nothing, and then goes on a 10-minute thing about boysenberries. So
and goes on
you,
the
sir,
beautiful
are not-
monologue about how he just discovered music.
and the transcendent nature of Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
It's kind of how Angel's life is right now. They're just not that there isn't a lot going on. It's just there just isn't as much time to consume random media. And for a lot of it, there are some things I want to talk about, but I usually want to finish them completely. Have I talked about Hunter?
Hang on.
I feel like I must
Mr.
have.
Host, you skipped a step. Who are
I
we?
didn't skip anything yet. This is all intended.
This is all.
You wait your turn. Hey, if you want to do the on my left is so and so in the certain order, then you can wait till you host. Anyway, we have Kevin.
What's up
over here, and the other guy.
Yeah, the one that was like, do the thing. You're like, I'm not going to do the thing. And then he proceeded to immediately do the thing. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I will admit I had forgotten already. I was already getting into whatever.
See, that's what I was,
But,
But
that's why I guess maybe that's not why we're in Nintendo. I guess I bring the wild card sometimes. And by wild card, I mean, I don't know, disorganized chaos, I guess.
And by sometimes you mean pretty much every episode. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess before I launch into what I've been up to, which I've just said is mainly not a lot of time to consume media, but I will elaborate a little on some things I have been able to finish lately in due time. But I mean, how have you guys been as of late? At least as of 3 weeks, 2 weeks, because we skipped a week.
We did skip a week. So yeah, it's been 3 weeks. I'm in a fanboy bubble right now. Anyone that knows me knows my identity is 3 things. Well, I mean, I'm Jason, but it's 3 things. Nintendo, Linkin Park, Conan. Nintendo spending, I'm not kidding, $900 million on Switch 2 marketing right now. So I'm seeing that everywhere. And I'm like, Switch 2. Conan has multiple things happening at once. He has a Mark Twain prize special on Netflix, which was fun to watch. His travel show is back. He was just cast in Toy Story 5 yesterday. And Linkin Park just put out the deluxe version of their album. So I am thriving the last few weeks is how I've been doing. It's like I'm on all cylinders with my fandom. So I am doing great.
I would argue that your 4th is Apple.
Yes, I would argue that too. And there you don't have anything going on. Actually, okay,
Yeah,
I'll throw Apple a bone.
There aren't many other companies you watch press conferences, and it's also the company we always come to you. Well, my brother-in-law and I, whenever, all right, so what did they announce? Anything I should care about? And you always give us a rundown.
Well, Apple, their big thing of late is...
It's an important job.
Yes. I am here as the unpaid ambassador to Apple, where I disseminate their information among our group of friends and get 0 in return from the company for being their stooge. But basically what I do with Nintendo. But okay, I'll throw
sales from us.
What?
Oh wait, no,
I don't get the sales. I don't get commission. But I'll throw Apple a bone. It was almost in May, so we'll continue it in Fanboy Month. The 10th anniversary of the Apple Watch was the very end of April, and they did something kind of cool where if you went to an Apple store, you could actually get a physical pin of your move rings being closed, like a little special pin commemorating 10 years of Apple Watch that looked like the pins you get when you complete your activity goals on the watch, but it's a physical one. So they also threw me that bone. So it's been fanboy palooza over here.
Well, look at that. What about you, Kevin? Are you also fanboy paloozaing it?
Not necessarily. Not the way that, that that Jason's blowing his load over these 3-4 things.
Over these mundane things, yes.
Well, they can't. Maybe next month. Maybe next month. I guess as far as me goes, I mean, what has happened? I mean, Switch 2 is coming out soon, but I don't, we're just waiting. Well, has nothing really happened? I mean, maybe the coolest random thing I recall getting was if any of you have seen Look Back, I know I've talked about this at least once during the podcast at some point. I pretty much got like a book that compiles what is essentially the whole movie in, I guess, storyboard form from beginning to end. And it's really cool. It's really great for reference. I mean, that movie has a ton of like amazing animation. And the book also came with 2 separate like scenes in these like, thick construction. Well, in these thick little books that are just giant flip books. It's literally a giant flip book. And, they're reversible. So I guess you get 4 scenes like fully animated, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so nothing too crazy. Yeah, I guess might as well just jump into it. There's a lot of movies.
Jump into it. That was the 360's tagline, right? Or jump in.
Jump in. No
jump
to
in,
it.
I believe.
Yeah. I forgot about speaking of the 360. Someone posted this because it was the anniversary of it recently. Do you remember when they announced the 360? They didn't do it with a press conference. They didn't do it with a video stream on YouTube or something. They bought I think half hour of programming on MTV. Or maybe it was an hour. Yeah, and it was hosted by Elijah Wood, and it was like such a time capsule. It started with the dress and the way people were acting.
It started with a performance by the Killers playing Mr. Brightside.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it because someone posted it. I'm just like, wow, what a timepiece in a way that like E3s aren't. Because E3 and all those things, if you go back and watch them, you're getting just like a throwback to how Reggie said about kicking ass and taking names, or how like Sony did $599 giant enemy crap. Like you just get like kind of the memes or like the little things, but like the whole like MTV special is just such a slice of the year 2005. Like it's something. If you want to really feel old or be like, whoa, that was what it was like go watch it. It's a trip.
Well, it's funny because like early 2000s press conferences were definitely that. They were press conferences. There was like no excitement.
Yeah.
They were almost like investor calls.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
And it wasn't until, I would say probably the PS3 era where they started becoming a little bit more extravagant, a little bit more reminiscent of that 360 reveal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was like 2000, maybe a little sooner. Like I think when Reggie in 2004 did Nintendo's press conference, like those, they still weren't live streamed. They still weren't like something that people like tuned into. You just kind of went and got the news after. But when he did that, and there were moments like the memes that came out of it with kicking ass, taking names, or the ending where they did the Twilight Princess reveal, and they like did like the mature Zelda everyone wanted, and like there were reports of like journalists crying in the audience and stuff. Like I feel like that was one of the tipping points where websites and companies are like, oh, we should like directly broadcast these out to the public, because like clearly there's an interest. Clearly we get additional marketing off the buzz and the memes and the other stuff. Yeah, and I think like PS3 and 360 were probably where it like really took off. Like Microsoft sort of saw the writing on the wall too, and that's why they did the MTV thing of like we can go direct to consumer. But yeah, it is interesting that like if you go back and rewatch like the 2001 or the 2000 Nintendo E3 conference, it's like a PowerPoint with like word art graphics.
Yeah,
and they like dive into sales for like way too long.
I don't remember where I saw or heard this, but like people would go to E3, and by people, not necessarily just journalists, but like managers of like a Best Buy or like a Target, because they would go there and like see a video game presentation and then say, okay, I'm going to order like 600 copies of that game for my store.
Yep. That was the original purpose of E3. That's why it lost its footing, because they didn't really wasn't about that anymore, but it was back in the 90s in particular about presenting it internally to the industry, to retailers, to buyers, to advertising firm, whatever, to say, hey, this, and that's why it was in May, because this is what you want this holiday, and here's why. And then the booths slowly got more and more extravagant to really emphasize why that game was important. You know, they would build elaborate things or have like people try and catch your eye, like the booth babes were there to like catch the eye of these like middle management people, and then it sort of evolved as all that process of deciding what game to pick didn't really need E3 anymore, and it kind of happened anyway. But that was always the original goal of E3, yeah. And then like there's the media component, and that kind of grew in tandem, yeah.
Yeah, and now it's
really interesting, yeah. And now it's dead, and companies just sort of back channel all that stuff and kind of know, oh yeah, a new Grand Theft Auto 6, yeah, we'll get 20 million copies of that, yes please. Like no one's really. Yeah, and with digital, it's gonna be even more dead because stores don't even get any copies anymore.
There's got to be like a documentary in the works, right? Of like the rise and fall again of E3.
I really hope so. I'm fascinated by like that sort of thing. Like, and then there's that weird year when like they did the media summit and not even like the real show floor, like it was in hotels around Santa Monica. That was weird.
And Nintendo did E for All. That's what.
They did E for All that one year. Yeah, and then E3 came back, but it was public. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, it'd be really interesting to like chart that and see how it changed, because it always was big and extravagant on the show floor, but in terms of how it was public facing, really did morph over the years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But anyway, we were gonna, I believe, Xbox 360 jump in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, to movies, not video games.
To movies.
So I guess who wants to talk first? Actually, let's just do Final Destination 6, because that's probably the one I'm more curious about between the two.
Are you guys are either of you guys like? Do you guys like these movies, or have you guys watched them?
I've never seen them, but I know a logging truck is in one of them.
Yep.
I only
the famous logging truck.
I only saw the first 3 growing up, and I haven't seen any since.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily that I even liked them enough to go watch the first 3. It was just something that I think my sister was really into them, and that's why we watched them. And then I guess we just kind of lost track.
Okay. Yeah. 3 is a great stopping point, because Final Destination 4 is probably one of the worst horror movies that I've ever seen in my entire life. Bloodlines, Final Destination 6. It's not called Final Destination 6 Bloodlines. It's just called Final Destination Bloodlines. But this is Final Destination 6 for all intents and purposes. Yeah, I saw this opening weekend. I saw this the Thursday that it came out, because I was just in. Listen, these movies aren't great, but I love them. Okay, it has a very simple premise, right? Main character has a premonition that they will die in some gruesome manner, along with like the people that are around them. In the first movie, it was a plane. The second one, it was a massive car crash on the highway that was caused by a logging truck.
There it is.
Which has now scarred generations upon generations of people behind log trucks.
Yep.
Shout
out logging trucks.
Yeah, man, I wonder if it is a sort of prerequisite to watch Final Destination 2 before you become a log trucker.
Can you imagine? Like how when we learn to drive, they make us watch Red Asphalt or whatever that California does, and all the loggers have to watch Final Destination. That actually would be pretty fun.
Yeah, like
this is why you need to secure your logs. Yeah.
Part of the onboarding process is, listen, it's not that people don't like you as a driver; they just hate driving behind logging trucks.
Please don't let this affect your self-esteem. It's not you; it's the logs.
I remember watching some video where they're like, yeah, logs aren't supposed to bounce that high, but Final Destination made everyone believe that they do now. So.
yeah. There's a lot of great analyses on that scene. In the third movie, it was a roller coaster like malfunctioning. The fourth one was a NASCAR event. Obviously not NASCAR. It was just like what do you call those? Just
stock car racing?
Stock car racing? Is that what it is?
I think, because otherwise it's like the F1. I actually have no idea.
I was about to say go fast cars. And then the fifth movie was all about a bridge collapsing. And so then the main lead, whether it be a guy or girl, will then save multiple people from dying in those events. And then death itself, the entity, goes, nah, you don't get off that easy. And then one by one kills these characters in either pretty quick fashion, like getting run over by a bus, or a quick decapitation, or through like a ridiculous series of events, like when the guy in the fourth movie gets his insides sucked out of his ass when he gets stuck at the bottom of a pool. Needless to say, I love these movies. Okay, they're not great. They're not, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But in this movie, the premonition takes place in the late 60s at what is basically the Space Needle in Seattle, or the Stratosphere in Vegas. You know, just a really tall, thin building that has like a restaurant and dance floor at the very top.
Or for our Canadian friends, the CN Tower in Toronto.
Is that a thing?
Another
maybe,
one of those.
maybe.
That's
I
a
would.
thing.
A lot
It's
of
on
these
the cover of
movies-
every single Drake album if you want to go look at it.
Oh, that's what. Yeah,
Like, that thing.
I forget what they call it in this movie, but it's definitely way smaller than the CN Tower for sure. But anyways, in this movie, the tower, you know, after a series of events, it explodes. It like breaks apart. It comes crashing down, and at the end of this premonition, it finally kills the visionary, if that's what we want to call them. In like the first shakeup of this movie, the movie doesn't go back to right before the premonition is supposed to start, as it does in the other movies. Instead, it fast forwards to the present, where we're introduced to the main character of the movie, Stephanie, who keeps having these nightmares, and the nightmare is essentially the premonition. Whenever she sleeps, the woman who had the premonition in the 60s is actually Stephanie's grandma. And so she goes out to search for her grandma, and when she does, well, that's when the movie basically starts and bad things start happening to Stephanie and the people around her. In the second shakeup of this movie, the victims or the characters are now related to each other through the bloodline, rather than being like a group of friends, a group of strangers, or like co-workers as they were in the previous movies.
Because of the title.
Yes.
Yeah, they do the meme of Leo pointing at the screen.
Yeah, they do the thing. They do the thing.
Yeah, it sounds like it's sort of like Final Destination through the lens of like generational trauma as kind of the
Yes,
you know what I mean.
And,
like,
and
it's
I will get to that generational trauma in a bit,
I
Jason.
mean, it sounds cool. It's a little more interesting
I didn't
than
expect to get ahead of it. Yeah. Okay.
what was the twisting part two? It's like, oh, death is going backwards.
Oh yeah,
you know?
in number 2, death is going in reverse. That was the twist of the second one, and the third one didn't have a twist as much as there were like clues leading the main character as to like who was next and how they were going to die. In the fourth movie, there was no twist again. Instead, the main character had these really terrible, like cartoon CGI dreams because the movie was in 3D. And then the fifth one probably had the best twist in the entire series because, and spoiler alert for Final Destination 5, it came out 14 years ago. Final Destination 5 is actually a prequel to Final Destination 1. And oh man, that twist still blows my mind whenever I see that movie. The fact that they were able to keep it a secret is insane. Anyways, yeah. So in
Is
this
that why
movie,
it was called The Final Destination?
No, the Final Destination was Final Destination 4.
Oh.
Yeah. We can just pretend that 4 never happened. That movie is terrible.
I'm just gonna say 4 being based on like, oh, they went to a race and the car like flew off the track. Like that just, the other ones are like kind of daily life. Like I mean, a theme park isn't, but it's closer. And then there's like this very specific. They went to a racetrack
Way to
and then a car
discount
went
a
off the
whole
track. Just seems
community or subset of people that maybe that is just normal for them.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one just seems the most like, yeah, that could totally happen for real because it does happen. Cars getting crashes at every race.
Yeah.
So sure.
Happens.
Like that one just seems the most like, okay, all right.
Lightning McQueen went through a very terrible crash in Cars 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's part of racing. It's not like the other ones are like a little more,
But it's usually
unique.
well, I mean, at least it usually seems like it's like a spectacle or something people want to happen. Whereas
Yeah,
now the
exactly.
twist is it's something, I guess, that
I
actually
feel
results in
like
tragedy, or maybe just doesn't
I
work for this kind of movie.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's kind of like, oh yeah, they went to a hockey game and a puck hit him in the face. I mean, yeah, that could happen there. That's not like, whoa. It's just like, yup, in theory, that is possible. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem as high stakes. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. I'll stop dissing a movie I've never seen that came out 20 years ago
Don't
in
worry,
3D.
don't worry about it. Yeah, so like I said, in this movie, it's about a bloodline, right? Because Stephanie's grandma was supposed to be one of the last to die in this accident in the 60s, and she didn't. Death has now come back to kill the rest of her family tree, right? So that's what the movie sets up, and what like follows is a like fairly entertaining movie. Like grading on a curve, this is one of the better Final Destinations, like no doubt about it. It's definitely the funniest in the series, and the characters in this one aren't as stupid as they have been in the past. They're still dumb, but they're definitely the least dumb out of all of the casts. The kills in this movie, oh man, I'm a little conflicted because while they are creative, they do end up looking a little too CG for my liking. Like that's one of the things that these movies has always done either really good or just really bad at. Like the CG effects in some of the movies are really good, like in Final Destination 3 and 5, because not only are they just using CG, but they're also mixing it with like a lot of practical effects. Final Destination 2 was actually really good about this too. Or they're just CG slop fests like Final Destination 4, where the CG is just beyond terrible, and even the practical stuff looks really, really bad and really cartoony. In this movie, a lot of the kills, while they may be mixing CG and practical effects, I haven't really seen any of the behind the scenes stuff on this one in particular. A lot of them end up looking more CG than practical, which is definitely a bummer. I will say that this movie does have the most excruciating kill in the series that involves an MRI machine that is really, really well set up and really well executed. It's probably my favorite kill in the entire series. Yeah, like overall, this is definitely the best put together Final Destination movie since the first one, which is reflected in its Rotten Tomato score because it's got a 93%. And like to put that in perspective, the highest movie in the series before was Final Destination 5, which had a 63, and then Final Destination 4 had a 28 on RT. It boggles my mind just a little bit because as much as I love the series, these movies aren't like cinema, right? Like this isn't your latest A24 horror movie, right? Like as a Final Destination movie, this movie is like a 9 out of 10. As a real movie, it's like a 6. It might even be a 5 out of 10 because there's some subplots in this movie. Like Jason, you hit a nail on the head. There is a subplot about generational trauma that like starts, goes nowhere, and leaves me to think, why even put that in the movie if you're not going to do anything for it? There's a subplot about the main character's mom disappearing and then coming back out of nowhere. There's just like a lot in this movie that doesn't work, but it doesn't necessarily hamper the movie. And then aside from those shakeups that I mentioned, the movie doesn't reinvent the franchise wheels. Like it's not a reboot. It's not a legacy sequel the way that like Scream 5 or the new Halloween movies are. And it does have some nods to the franchise. So, but it's not a legacy. Like I said, it's not a legacy sequel. Oh, I did forget. Tony Todd. Do you guys know the actor Tony Todd?
Sounds familiar.
Can't say I'm familiar.
He is the Candyman in the Candyman movies.
Okay. I know that from the trailers at least.
That makes me less familiar with
Okay, well, anyways, he's like a horror legend. He plays.
Didn't he
Yes.
Candyman. Did he die recently?
Yes.
Pass
So
away
he
recently?
plays. Yeah. So he plays William Bloodworth in 4 out of the 6 movies now. As a character who has, for some reason, been aware of death and death's design and how powerful death can be. And yeah, this is his last time playing the role because he unfortunately passed away like a little bit after they wrapped shooting a year ago. His character is actually given some backstory and gives us some insight. And this movie gives us some insight as to why he knows all about death and death's design. And he gives like a really beautiful send-off to the character, and strangely enough to himself as well, because the directors of this movie let him improvise the monologue he does. And him and the directors and the producers knew that, hey, this is probably the last time that he's going to be seen on screen. And while the character of William Bloodworth from the Final Destination movies isn't like a horror classic or a horror staple, to this series he means a lot, and to the fans of the series he means a lot. He means a lot to me, right? And it's like, yeah, he just gets like this beautiful send off, like in the middle of this movie, where people get cut in half by like telephone poles, you know. But like I said, I don't know why this one is getting more praise than the others. It's, or like getting like almost exceptional praise compared to the others. But it's definitely better, right? It's the best one for sure. But the others aren't that much worse than this movie, with the exception of 4. 4, man, the Final Destination, that movie sucks the ass, man. The same ass that gets sucked in that pool scene, because goddamn, that movie's terrible. That would be a really fun one for us to watch together, because it's really bad.
We should.
And we could play a drinking game where we take a swig or a shot every single time that something comes towards the screen. We'd probably be blackout drunk by the end of it. But yeah, Final Destination 6 Bloodlines. I keep saying that. Final Destination Bloodlines. Yeah. Great sequel to a franchise that I love. It is killing at the box office right now. It made double its budget just in North America alone. I don't know if these movies do that well international. But yeah, it's been 14 years since the last movie, and hopefully the next one is right around the corner. I'm sure it will be with the amount of money that it's making. I'll be interested to see how they shake up the formula for the next one, because they can't just do a rinse and repeat of the other 5, you know? But yeah, Bloodlines.
Yeah, pretty cool. Always looking forward to hearing your horror movie reviews and impressions. I mean, at the very least, like,
on too.
Yeah, like I'm not averse, unlike Jason, and this is not like a day or anything. Like, I don't seek out a lot of horror movies, but I typically find myself enjoying them, and usually not averse to watching any. At least in the last couple of years. I think maybe the only kind that if I knew beforehand, if it's more like torture porn kind of thing, I might be like, I don't know if I care too much, but like I'll probably still end up watching it. But, you know, like I feel like the kind of kills you get in these movies versus something like maybe Saw. I don't know if that's the best example.
Sure.
I'm sure there's something more extreme, but yeah, I mean, these kinds of kills are usually funny, because, you know, it's also like a Rube Goldberg machine in some of these movies. Like, the tiny little, I don't know, like someone steps on something and then that causes like the water to start dripping, and then that goes to like an exposed electrical wire, and that causes the fan to go crazy. That, you know, blows some dust, and I think it's like someone in a gym or doing gymnastics.
A gymnast, yeah. And then she flattens out.
Yep.
To that point, the trailer for Bloodlines is literally just a scene of basically the Rube Goldberg machine. It's like at a pawn shop or something. And I thought the trailer, that's it. That's the whole trailer. It's just the one start to finish of how someone dies. And I thought that was a really well cut trailer. Yeah, and I thought it was a good trailer. So
There you
So
go.
I'm not opposed to the Rube Goldberg machine of death that is Final Destination.
Yeah,
Although
that,
you're right, I generally don't move towards horror movies.
Yeah, that scene is a little bit more extended in the movie, and
I'm
it
sure,
definitely adds to it a little bit.
Two things to latch onto real quick. One, Angel, you may know Tony Todd, actually. The Fallen in Revenge of the Fallen Transformers. I was looking at his IMDb. He is the voice. And you are a Transformers fan, so presumably you understand this connection.
Yeah, from the worst reviewed
Second
Transformers movie for a character that was kind of thrown in there.
But you've seen it,
I was about
so
to say,
you know who he is.
I was about to say,
didn't even
Revenge of
know
the
who voiced
Fallen
him.
is really bad, but then I also remember that we saw the last night, and that movie sucks.
Oh man,
Yeah, at least Revenge of the Fallen was like entertaining mostly throughout. Like there's some parts that are still kind of slow, but the newer ones, oh my god, it just feels like
I don't
just
know,
padding.
man.
So
They
much
can
crap.
probably go 12 rounds in the ring with how bad they are. Revenge of the Fallen had the racist robots, remember?
it did.
Oh, God,
Revenge
yeah.
of the Fallen also gave us Linkin Park's New Divide. So
The only good thing to come out
Jason
of
the
that.
fanboy. Yeah, exactly. Jason the fanboy over here got something out of it.
It's a great song. I love that song.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
a
a
lot
good
of
song.
stuff
One of my
just
favorites.
happens in that movie. A lot of stuff just happens in all these movies.
Remember the Constructicon had balls?
Yep.
Oh yeah, the Mountain Dew machine that transformed because product placement.
That was
Yeah.
the first movie.
Oh, you're right. Never mind.
Yep. I mean, I guess you could
Supposedly
say-
they're going to bring back the original cast for a new one. Is the rumblings?
Man,
Really?
last night. Remember that scene of what's his name? The old actor.
Oh,
Anthony Hopkins
Yeah.
just getting murked by Megatron. He goes flying in the air like
he's
40
like,
feet.
thank you.
Yes,
My job is
Oscar-winning
done.
actor Anthony Hopkins went through that. Yep. Yeah, that
Gets
I don't know how they
blown
got him
up
to do that.
by Megatron.
Yeah. Spoiler alert for the Transformers movie that no one should see.
The
Yeah.
Final Destination
But I said
franchise better than Transformers for sure.
What a bar that sets. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah,
man.
it's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame the animated one probably won't have a chance to expand itself to, transform into something greater. We'll have to see what happens with. Blu-ray
I see what you
sales,
did there.
But I haven't really heard anything. But I guess to kind of keep going on the franchise stuff. I mean, we're not
Wait, hold on. There's a
now.
second thing I wanted to latch on to that Kevin said. He made an interesting point about, like, as a movie, Final Destination is one thing, but as a Final Destination, it's another thing, right? I wasn't going to talk about this, but that is the best way to sum up the critically and pretty universally panned Hurry Up Tomorrow movie from the weekend, which I saw. As a movie, no. As a visual... as a visual accompaniment to an album, sure. And that's my review.
But you
No,
could
but,
probably
to-
do without the accompanying, right? You can just do
Well,
the
it's
album?
like I saw. Yeah, you can get by with just the album. But here's the thing. You know how, like, and I'm stealing this sort of train of thought from someone on the internet. I don't know who. I just saw it. I thought it was a really good way to put it. You know how a lot of, like, albums now, for especially big pop stars, they do, like, oh, the visual for the album. Like, not the music video, just some, like, vague visual. That's something deeper than a music video, but not, like, a fully baked thing. It's just, like, the visual. That's what this is. That's what Hurry Up Tomorrow is. Now, I know The Weeknd. I'm a big fan of The Weeknd. I know Abel is like, oh, I'm going to be an actor and all that. And he actually, honestly, isn't horrible in this. That clip going around the internet's taking out context. He's supposed to be sort of flummoxed and weird in it. Like, it's supposed to be awkward. So he's not bad in this compared to The Idol. He's really not. But
okay.
the movie doesn't, like, really... I mean, it could be better, don't get me wrong. But the movie has some cool visuals, is shot very nicely, and just like, and has an interesting theme. And that's about it. Like, there's plot lines that don't go anywhere. There's like, it's just, it would be a really cool way if he flipped the release sequence and put out the movie, like, let's say on streaming or on YouTube or something, let's say a month before the album came out, and this was the first way to hear a bunch of the songs from the album, and they were integrated into the movie as they are and everything. It would have been a really cool way to, like, enter the world of the album. But as a thing that's individually standing alone, separate from the album, but has ties to the album, I don't know if it needed a theatrical release. Like, it's visually kind of cool. I saw it in Dolby Cinema because A-list on MK, and it was like it sounded great. Like I appreciate that aspect of seeing it in a theater. Like the sound mix was really good, and it was really like bombastic, and there's like all sorts of like he captures like the feeling of the Weeknd character like decline into partying and stuff really interesting, like really well. Like it's really cool like to experience, but it's not a movie. It's like a visual, you know. So going in with that mindset, it isn't horror. It's as a visual, it's an entertaining thing if you like the album. As a movie, it has some issues. Yeah. So your Final Destination thing just reminded me of that thought I had about Hurry Up Tomorrow, because it's weirdly parallel to what you're saying about Final Destination.
That clip of The Weeknd of his acting.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate how much I hate Final Destination 4, his acting in that is better than 98% of the performances in that movie. So
wow. Okay. I thought you were going to flip that the other way and say that he was worse than that movie.
Put that on the back of the box.
Yeah, there you go. What a pull quote. Yeah. So I figured I'd just don't mind me interjecting another fandom of mine, The Weeknd, into the conversation. But Angel, you were trying to transition to something else, and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Trying. Well, I guess speaking of back of the box, Thunderbolts seemed to use a cereal box for its marketing.
That is A+ transition. Wow.
And I guess it turns out we all saw it individually of each other without really talking about that. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a movie I was planning on watching. It was literally one of those, yeah, if people want to watch it and it's just part of like a group that I'm already hanging out with, sure. Which is literally what happened. We hung out at Little Tokyo. It was one of the activities. We saw it, and then, we went to 82 and some of the other neat things you could do at Little Tokyo.
Is there a theater in Little Tokyo?
At night. What's up?
Is there a theater in Little Tokyo?
No, but we walked to the Alamo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which,
for those outside LA, that's in downtown LA, about a 15 to 20 minute walk from the Little Tokyo area of downtown LA. It's approximately north and to the east, so now you can picture it along with us.
Yeah, not that far of a walk. Very chill theater, So if you haven't been there before, it's kind of nice. It has its own vibe for
Pictures,
sure.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think the only thing, because I haven't seen a Marvel movie or show since, I guess, Spider-Man No Way Home. And then before that, I think it was just Guardians 3, and before that, it was probably Avengers Endgame.
I think Guardians 3 was the most recent one of that list.
So Guardians 3, then No Way Home, and then Endgame. Like, probably in that order. And, people watch enough of this stuff. You guys watch enough of this stuff that I pick up, like kind of what's happening. And I mean, I haven't even bothered doing let me just watch the last 15 seconds of this thing to get the gist of it. I mean, I knew Falcon was, I was going to say the Eagle, Captain America. But yeah, I mean, surprisingly, I wasn't confused. Or maybe unsurprisingly, I wasn't confused with what was going on. It was kind of easy to infer, like, oh, this is a Black Widow person, and there's Black Widow dad, and, there's Black Widow stuff going on. And I think the only thing I was disappointed of was this was my first time seeing Taskmaster, and my only reference for them was their appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where they're spamming, saying Spidey swing over and over again, and just kind of using a bunch of moves and being pretty cool. Yep, exactly. But yeah, they were barely in it, and I was like, huh. All right, well, there goes that character.
They pulled the gag that Suicide Squad did in the James Gunn Suicide Squad, almost beat for beat, almost at the same point in the movie. But yeah, Taskmaster, even the billboards, only like a third of Taskmaster's face is on the billboard. Like it was kind of, I mean, we knew it was coming, but it's funny that that's the one you call out.
I mean, I guess if there is anything, I maybe
spoilers for Thunderbolts, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we should say that. Sorry, my bad to anyone that was a diehard Taskmaster fan and still hasn't seen the movie.
Well, I think any diehard Taskmaster fan would have already been disappointed by their appearance, I guess, in Black Widow, based on what I saw in this.
But one of my favorite tweets, like on opening day of Thunderbolts, was If you looked at any of the marketing for this movie, you knew that Taskmaster was not going to make it to Act 3. Probably not
Yeah,
even
exactly.
Act 2 if you saw like any of the marketing.
Yep.
Like one of my favorite tweets was somebody quote tweeting themselves saying, "All right, let's go, Taskmaster Nation." Like rise up. And then immediately like retweeting themselves and going like, "Oh, dot dot dot." I thought that was so funny.
That's pretty good. Do you think they played the long game and they knew, or do you think they genuinely believed that Taskmaster had a big role?
No, they were playing along. They absolutely knew
Okay,
that
good.
they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
going
yeah.
to make
Because
it.
I'd feel so bad if they were genuinely excited, but no, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a billboard for Thunderbolts not far from my place. And yeah, when it first went up and I could see like half of Taskmaster's eye, I'm like, oh yeah, nope, no chance.
They superimposed Taskmaster in one of the trailers when they were confronting Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. She's superimposed in the back to make us think that,
Oh, I
that
didn't
she was
notice
going to be
that.
there.
I will get to it when we're done talking about the movie, but the marketing for this thing, like in the end, actually, they did some really clever stuff with the marketing. But we'll get there. Yeah.
Oh, so that's her name. Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing I felt like if it felt like at any point I was missing something is why Elaine was so mad, or why she's like so evil.
And why she had a streak of different colored hair.
Yeah, like what was this Jerry's doing? Did that have anything to do with it? But like I didn't know who that character was or where they came
I mean,
from.
we all know
or-
Costanza would be to blame, not Jerry. But yeah, yeah, it's explained in the TV show a bit more. But I mean, you probably got the gist of it from the movie. But
yeah,
she's
she just seemed like an
basically
Amanda Waller type or something.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's exactly it. And she's basically trying to work her way up in the government and use superheroes or villains or whatever you want to call these dudes and dudettes to her advantage. Yeah, to
Yeah, I mean,
seize more power and
So
whatnot.
what'd y'all think? I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't anything I'm super like, oh my god, that was amazing. But maybe it was better than I expected. Maybe my
Yeah,
expectations were
I
That's
think
pretty
where I'm
low.
at.
I think that's everybody's consensus. This movie is way better than I guess I had any right to be.
Totally. Yeah, I admit this was one of the Marvel movies I went in with the lowest expectations for. Like some of the marketing early on wasn't great. In the end, the marketing they've been doing post-release has been good. But yeah, some of it I was kind of like, okay. And they were trying some interesting stuff, like they did that like A24 style trailer where they
I like
just
that.
listed off.
I like that A24 trailer.
Yeah, I was
It
gonna say,
wasn't
that was
an
cool.
A24
Yeah.
style trailer. It was just them mentioning, like everybody,
Yeah, all the
like
crew.
the crew for this movie was always somebody that was affiliated with an A24 movie.
Yeah, and they did it like it was like a collab with Letterboxd. They were like it worked in one level of showing you there's some real talent behind the camera, but also it was kind of a fun like this isn't just a Marvel movie, like this is artful cinema type of like vibe. But it it was my
It was a Marvel
expectations going
movie.
were pretty low. It was a Marvel movie. My expectations going in were pretty low, so I wasn't initially sure if I was into it because it just exceeded those or because it actually was good. And the more I thought about it and the more I watched it as I was sitting there, I was like, oh, this is actually just like a good Marvel movie. Like it has the kind of bantery, collaborative, like people teaming up thing that, Marvel does well in the early phases. It has a really interesting riff, if we're talking spoilers, although on basically like the big bad is in a way mental health. Like it's like addressing mental health and like how that can drag you down. Like, I just thought it was really creative in that regard. It wasn't just like, here's a guy trying to destroy the world. It like had something a little different. And it felt to me like the first in a while that actually was leveraging some connective tissue between the various things that have been happening in phase 4, 5. Are we up to 6? I don't know, 4 and 5. Like it really did feel kind of like stuff was starting to come together with this movie, especially towards the end, and especially with the stinger. So yeah, it just kind of felt like it was hitting all the highs that Marvel movies have had a little trouble hitting lately, even if it wasn't like the most, the best of the Marvel movies. Like it was hitting the right notes in the right places in the right ways for me, which was nice. After some movies in Marvel have not done that as well. Does that make sense?
I appreciate that Florence Pugh still does these movies because this is way above her caliber.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
Without a doubt. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. one of the very few times that I will accept the power of friendship as beating the final villain. Like I do
Yeah.
like that the final villain wasn't. I like that how do I put this? I like that it wasn't just like punching a villain to defeat him. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It
it
just
was
felt more
about-
creative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the same way that like the Doctor Strange ending was, right? Like with
Mhm,
Dormammu. Like I like when these movies get creative with their endings and aren't just.
And the Captain America New World ending.
I didn't.
I mean, that one literally
see
did.
Captain.
That one literally
America.
did involve a bit of. Well, it was a talking down, I guess.
Isn't
Not
that kind of the same
spoiling too
thing?
much,
They have to calm him down.
No, but that was like. I think it works a little differently because, yeah, you're ultimately calming someone down to a degree, but like something about how this one was done in the through line of like mental well-being and not being being mentally healthy or whatever, and just like that theme, it worked really well for. I feel like Captain America, it felt more like they were still fighting a big bad who was out there punching and destroying DC, and yeah, they talked him down, but like they're stopping a big bad from punching and destroying DC. This one is like this darkness, this mental darkness was consuming the city. It just felt a little more creative than just like, dude smashes things. You say stop smashing things. He says, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I realized you could distill both to be similar, but something about this one just felt better executed through the whole plot.
Yeah, I didn't see Black Widow. I did see Hawkeye, which which Florence Pugh's character Yelena.
Yep.
Yelena,
She's in.
yeah, she's in.
Yelena,
She's
in it.
great in that.
Mhm.
I mean, crap. A lot of this movie was like a tie into Black Widow. Oh, I did see the Eagle and Winter Soldier.
The Eagle. Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like that's the thing, is this one, having seen all the shows and all the movies, they even had a throwaway line to Captain America New World Order in this one, but it felt like there was a cohesion that was bringing together bits and bobs of the various couple phases in a way that a lot of the other recent Marvel movies didn't have. And I don't mean like there's a direct line of like, oh, WandaVision to Doctor Strange, like where it's like this happened in the show, now this is happening in the movie. I mean, they were just plucking little references from left and right and sort of merging them together here and there, and even references from movies that aren't out yet, from the Stinger, So like it really, to me, this felt like the first time in a while where I was like, oh, I see how it's all coming together, which has been a plot hole, an issue for Marvel for phase 4 and 5, is like there's a lot of loose ends and things that just kind of leave hanging, and you're like, what's this, how's this gonna relate back, like is it multiverse, is it Kang, like there's a lot of confusion about what they're gonna do in light of them moving away from Kang, and this felt like the first one where it's like, oh, this is from this and this is from that and this is from this, and they're all kind of cohesive. There's a cohesion in how they're coming together and how we're gonna move forward, and it's very clear what they're setting up. I feel like it just, it felt like the first time in a while that it was like, aha, got it for these movies,
I will say that I think when they first say the name Sentry, the first thing that came to mind was, oh, the dude from Marvel Snap. I wonder how the Void thing is going to come into effect. And then they did it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, if
I
I'm
thought
not
that was
mistaken,
really well done too, the way they showed the Void.
If I'm not
and how it was
mistaken, in the comics, the Void is like an actual like physical thing, rather than I don't know what you would call it in this movie, an alter ego.
Yeah, because the
It's
Void
like, I
looks
don't
like
know,
this
yeah,
big
it's like a-
buff
it's like-
monster, right? Like in the card
It's
game.
like a
I mean,
subconscious that takes over
Mhm.
almost in this.
Yeah, I think it's like an actual physical like monster in the comics, which I thought this was that, which their interpretation of it was much better than just like a monster that the Thunderbolts would have to,
Physically
work
punch.
together,
Yeah.
to physically take down.
Yeah, no, I think also, I mean, we're kind of, you mentioned the comics and we're kind of dancing around it. I'm just going to say it. We already said spoilers. The last line of the movie essentially being the new Avengers, that anyone that knows the comics maybe saw it coming. I forgot that's where this goes. So I was like, oh, okay. Like that was Far From Home did something similar, where they're like, oh, Spider-Man's like, it's an alternate world and Spider-Man's guy, and they had like a similar stinger, but this one felt like a stinger that has impact across all the MCU. Because this sets up, well, it's these Avengers versus the other Avengers who are the event, which one's the Avenger. Like, there's a lot of stuff now that makes a lot more sense as they move forward, and I just thought that was done at in the peak Marvel way of the little twist of the knife at the end.
Comprises the other Avengers that they were on the phone
with? It's as we like to call him, Eagle, and it's Captain America, Falcon. It's that whole side of things. So,
well, that's like who is it besides Eagle?
Yeah, but he's asking who is it aside from the Eagle and the Falcon?
Well, it's Eagle and everyone else.
Everyone else. Well, that's my point. It's everyone that's not in the new Avengers, I think.
So who is that, Jason?
Yeah, I've only watched these 3 movies.
It's Julia Louis-Dreyfus basically built out this team of 4, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the rest of the Avengers. So Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, anyone that was in that casting video they did, anyone that's like a normal Avenger as you think of them is still on the other side. But now there's like a government issued, if you will.
So who was
Avengers.
that, Jason? Angel wants to know.
Literally everyone else. That's what I'm saying.
He
like
wants
Thor,
to know the
like
names.
I don't know who they're gonna put in which movie, but my understanding is it's basically anyone that you didn't see in this movie is still considered a normal Avenger in the other movies. I think.
So Iron Man?
I think. Well, he's dead as far as we know.
Loki?
So no. But anyone, what?
Shuri?
Why not Loki?
Shuri?
'Cause
Is she an Avenger?
I would assume she's probably more normal Avenger. I don't know. They haven't said. I don't remember.
Isn't
I don't know
that more?
Khan's well enough.
Isn't that more an Avenger because he's in the movie?
Guys, I'm not the Marvel expert. Don't do this to me.
You
Then
clearly
don't
have
say
an
it. Don't say
answer.
you know.
Yeah, just say you don't know, because it's clearly not everybody that
I'm
wasn't in
saying
here.
Everybody
I'm
else
saying my
is-
understanding. No, my understanding was, and maybe they're going to do a similar split, maybe like they did between Infinity War and Endgame, where they're like kind of 2 teams of Avengers. My understanding was the ones that we see in this movie are the government-sanctioned Avengers, and then it's basically the rest of the crew and these guys as 2 foils to each other. Unless I'm mistaken, and they're going to throw more into this Avengers, but they did in the credits a flash forward, a jump forward in time, and it's still just the 4 of them. So I think it's just the 4.
She-Hulk,
5.
is that Daredevil, is that Blade, is that Deadpool?
Well, Blade's movie's probably not happening, so I don't think it's going to be Blade in the movies. But, someone that knows better where this is going to go, leave a comment or tag us at Rand Nintendo. But my understanding is basically you got these 4 who are like the official Avengers as far as the government sees them.
There's 5 new Avengers plus
5.
Bob.
Right.
So
forgot
6
Bob.
in total.
Yeah. Wait, who's the fifth? There's Taskmaster. Yeah, you're right.
Taskmaster's dead.
Yeah. So there's yeah, okay, never mind. I'm just gonna stop. But I did really like the thing I was trying to say is I did really like the stinger of the new Avengers, and then I wanted to comment on the marketing. I think they did it too quickly.
They
but
absolutely
it has
did.
been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch them transition all the Thunderbolts marketing into now the new Avengers and move the asterisks from the end of the title to the beginning of the title, because now it's the definition of what the other name was. But they did it way too quick. I mean, by Sunday morning, they were changing billboards of opening weekend.
Yeah, they
And it's been
didn't
cool
give,
how they're changing it, but too
Yeah,
fast.
they didn't even let opening weekend end.
I know,
They
that's
could,
what's crazy.
Like,
I think
at
it's
least do it on Monday.
Yeah, I think it's clever how they're doing it. Like they're ripping a part of the billboard so that it looks like there's like depth, and it's like under Thunderbolts. It says the new Avengers. Like that's kind of cool. They did a really cool one on Sunset over here on Sunset Boulevard where like they had it rip off to say the new Avengers, and then like 4 days later they had Stitch punch through it to do a Lilo and Stitch marketing, because all his marketing is him punching through billboards. So I thought that was kind of fun, but they did it so fast, and like all that is really clever, but they did it so fast. So like it's cool that they're doing it. It's a really clever way to kind of like be like, actually this is an Avengers movie, guys, but at the same time like give it a chance to breathe a little,
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry I couldn't give you proper Avengers names. You'll note at the beginning of the episode, Marvel was not in my list of biggest fandoms, so that's my excuse.
yeah.
I'll let it slide.
Well, next time I'll just expect I don't know, but we'll see if we get that. I guess something that I guess you probably know. I guess let's just knock out the last of the movie thingies here. I guess the Mario movie sequel leaked apparently. I heard it got announced.
Oh, I know that. I
Or
know.
I heard it was
and I
revealed,
have-
and then I looked at the
did-
Nintendo
it was
news
not
app and I
revealed.
didn't see
It
it
was
there. So
leaked.
then I stopped caring, and then that was it.
Well-
On that note, I will be right back. Give me one quick minute. You guys
Do
can
you
you
not
guys
wanna be-
you guys can talk about this. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm guessing he doesn't want to be spoiled, maybe?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so I guess it's a spoiler in a way. NBC had their upfronts. Upfronts, if you're not familiar,
A spoiler
are,
of the reveal of the movie name, or are you talking about like
The
this somehow
movie was
actually spoils a key part of the movie and now it's ruined for some
it
people?
could. Well, it could. So they had their upfronts. They put out a press release about all the. So upfronts, if you don't know, that's when all the TV networks and streaming services present to It's we were talking about E3 and how it used to be for like the marketing arm and like the stores to know what to push. Upfronts are that for TV and movies, essentially. So mostly TV. So every network takes a turn. Every corporation takes a turn of like, here's our big slate for the fall. Here's why you should advertise on our channels, our streaming services. So NBC Universal put out a press release that was like, hey, you should definitely be on our networks, and you should probably advertise on Peacock because we have all these shows and movies. We own Universal. We are in partners with Illumination. Look at all these cool movies that we're going to have on Peacock exclusively when they come to streaming. And they rattled off, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the next Jurassic World, and about halfway through that list, randomly listed, was Super Mario World.
Oh, you still haven't gotten to it. Okay.
I just got to it. Yeah.
Jesus.
So I was
And
just
then we got the
explaining
Jason's
how it got
position,
leaked.
yeah. Or the setup.
Yes. So Super Mario World was listed and very quickly removed from that. I don't know what to call it. From that press release, I guess. But it's out there. It's not the Mario movie 2. It's not like Yoshi's Big Day Out. It is Super Mario World. And I feel like, one, we kind of should have seen it coming because Yoshi was the stinger at the end of the first Mario movie, and Miyamoto was dropping breadcrumbs, it turns out, in hindsight. When they first announced the Mario sequel, he was talking about how, and I very quickly, as soon as this leak, posted this on my socials, because I'm like, oh, I see what they did there. But he was talking about how they want to broaden Mario's world with the second movie. So he was kind of like, Mario World, get it?
Yeah,
but
I almost feel like, I mean, to be completely honest, I had always assumed that this movie was going to be called Super Mario World. If it isn't, all right, but...
Well, here's where... I didn't think it'd be called Super Mario World, but I thought it involved Yoshi. But the fact that it's called Super Mario World, to me, suggests it's maybe closely related to my all-time favorite game, Super Mario World, which is exciting.
What?
And with that comes a lot
It's almost like both of them introduced Yoshi.
I know. Well, yeah, Yoshi was going to be a part of it, but it seems like it's oriented... The way I saw that happen, one was going, oh, awesome, Super Mario World, my favorite game. It's going to be the main premise of the movie. That's great. But number two was me going, aha. So what Donkey Kong was in the first movie, they were definitely leaning on for Yoshi in the second movie, but also they got the Koopalings at play. And also they potentially have, I assume... maybe like I feel like Yoshi's gonna have the moment that Donkey Kong had with the first one, and I don't know if that's gonna end up also meaning a resurgence of like Yoshi games and stuff. But like they're slowly sort of drip feeding Yoshi back out there in the way they were doing Donkey Kong. I mean, he just had I was just at Universal Fan Fest. We'll talk about it later at Universal Studios, and Yoshi was the whole theme of what they were doing in the Nintendo part of the park. And now he's gonna be in the movie in a big way, as we already knew from the Stinger. But now the movie is modeled seemingly after the game he's debuted in. With presumably they'll end up at Dinosaur Island. Maybe they'll go to Yoshi Island. Like there's just a lot of stuff that comes with this that makes it seem like, oh, this could be like Yoshi's big moment, as we kind of thought from the Stinger. But also Mario World, like I said, the Koopalings has new areas to like go off to, and it seems like they may pull a Donkey Kong again and kind of give Yoshi his moment in the sun, which is nice. But yeah, I was just excited to see my favorite game be the one that got named here. Because it's also interesting because they could have mixed and matched. They could have jumped around more. They may still. We obviously don't know anything about the plot officially. But if they're calling it Mario World and it involves Yoshi, it seems like the big emphasis might just be the story of Mario World. I mean, Mario World has a story. They go on vacation to Dinosaur Island. They, it's one of two vacations in the Mario universe, the other being Isle Delfino. So they have a way to, the first movie ended with them living in the Mushroom Kingdom. Yoshi's somehow in New York. There's maybe something with Dinosaur Island now with more Yoshis. Like, it just seems like it's cool that they're leaning in on this, it seems, from the leaked title. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I was definitely excited to see that they're choosing my favorite game as the one. to
Just
presumably
for
be the basis.
you.
I know, so thoughtful of them.
Well, yeah.
Another example of my fandoms this month. Yeah, it wasn't just a new Mario movie, and I love the Mario movie. It was like, oh, what if it's based on your all-time favorite game? I'm like, oh, go on, please. So I imagine we'll hear more about it officially at a later time. Clearly, Nintendo didn't want this out when it came out. But yeah, I imagine once the Switch 2 dust settles a little, like maybe in the fall before it ramps back up for the holidays, they'll squeeze this in. But yeah,
I mean, this is what, a
exciting to see.
2027 movie?
Six. It's out next spring.
Oh. When is
They're turning
Zelda
around fast.
Also 26?
That's 28, I think. Maybe 7. Maybe 7. But yeah, it'll be interesting actually to watch how they do this one, because like the first Mario movie, I mean, it's in the name, the Mario movie. It was very much just like, it's Mario as a movie, just like Sonic. The first Sonic movie was like, it's Sonic the Hedgehog as a movie. But then as they start to get more comfortable with the idea of like, oh, we're doing movies now, like, I'm curious where they go with Mario. I'm curious if Zelda gets like, is it gonna be an adaptation? Is it gonna be like the Zelda movie, or is it gonna be like Zelda Legends of the Mystic blah blah blah, and just like be named like a game would be and have its own completely original plot? Like it's gonna be interesting because they're past the point of like the litmus test of, can Nintendo do a movie, and we're now kind of into the zone of like, how will Nintendo approach movies? Like they approach their games differently. The movies will be approached, each movie will be approached differently. So I'm kind of curious what that's going to look like too. But again, getting ahead of myself. As of now, we just know it's based on my all-time favorite games. So excited for that when it comes down the pipe.
And watch it literally just be the title. And that's where that ends.
Well, we know for sure Yoshi's there. So there's at least that. And he was
Watch
introduced
that
to
egg
Mario
never
World.
come into play.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know until we watch it. But yeah, I guess let's break up some Nintendo with not Nintendo, because I don't think this is on any Nintendo platform, right? Expedition 33, Sid Meier's Expedition 33, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Close. Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33. Yeah, I talked about this on the last episode. Rolled credits last Friday on the game. I think credits rolled about 45 hours in. Thank you. Currently, I think I'm at about 65 hours after cleaning up a few of the side quests and finishing the endgame content. Actually, funnily enough, this morning at around 1 a.m., I finally got all of my party members to level 99, maxing them out. I played this game on Xbox PC Game Pass for $1, and as soon as I beat it, I bought the game. And if all of that hasn't led you to what I think about this game, then I'll just straight out say it. This is easily my game of the year. Honestly, my game of the generation, my last game of the generation was Hades. And this game made and makes me feel the same way that I did when I played Hades back in the day, which is only, 2018? Yeah, for me, this game just fires on all cylinders. Starting with its story, which is easily the best part of the game. Like I mentioned before, it starts with this insanely great premise. You're out to kill a god who every year erases anyone above decreasing age. And while that is great on its own, the story slowly evolves into a story about existence, sentience. Loss, and ultimately grief. And as dour as the story can get, it's really, really funny. It's really heartwarming at times, especially the interactions between the characters, which is one of my favorite parties in any RPG, be it a Western RPG, JRPG, just straight up one of my favorite parties of any game. All of them have such great character arcs with great resolutions, and they're all fun to play with, which I'll get to in a minute. Bringing the game all together is like the presentation, which I talked about a little bit last time. The graphics are incredible. The art style is fantastic. Easily the best looking game of this generation so far. Something that I didn't really touch upon last time was the music. Angel, this is probably the best score or music or what have you in a video game in the last 10 years. So listen to that soundtrack, please. It's not just like orchestral music. but they throw in some electronica here and there. There's some jazz. One of the main boss tracks is like this beautiful orchestral arrangement, and then out of nowhere, it gives you the most insane guitar and violin solos that you'll ever hear.
Ooh,
Like,
that sounds cool.
yeah, like I just keep thinking about, what track are they going to play live during the Game Awards? Because I know this is going to be there.
Oh, it's for sure gonna show up there.
And when, not if, because I know that this is going to happen, because you can't just have a soundtrack this successful. But when this gets a live orchestra tour, it'll probably be the only one that I ever go to. That's how good the music in this game is.
Wow.
And then just straight up finally getting into the gameplay, I mean, the gameplay is like tailor-made for me. It's a turn-based RPG, but on top of that, there's parrying and there's blocking. It's turn-based Dark Souls. Down to like the difficulty and down to the various types of builds that you can make with your weapons and equipment. Like, of those 65 hours I played, I think maybe a good 5 hours of the game was just me min-maxing all my stats and selecting what gear and abilities I should put on these characters before facing a certain boss or going through a certain dungeon. Like just yesterday, I spent 2 hours perfecting my party so I can just clear enemies in one turn. Like, I made a build so broken that the final endgame boss didn't even have a turn to attack me because I just destroyed it. Because that's just how creative and how deep that you can get with equipping your characters in this game. And like the characters, every character feels so unique in their playstyle. And while there are some characters, one in particular, actually, that is definitely stronger than the others, they're all completely valid to play as throughout the story and through the endgame content. This game has so much to love. I love that when it comes to stuff like magic, you don't have to manage any resources. Like, there is no magic points that you'll have to use like an elixir in Final Fantasy to replenish. And you're not constantly trying to find save point after save point to replenish like your magic points, you know? I love that you can passively level your characters that aren't in your party because there's EXP share in this game. So, you know, while the characters that you're not using, it's going to take a little bit longer for them to get to everybody else's level, but, you know, they're still... You're not playing a certain character for 30 levels and then going, oh crap, this character is still on level 1. You know, they do slowly progress along with the characters that you do choose. I love that you can just re-roll your character's stats and abilities whenever you want with such incredible ease. Like, there are some weapons have certain stats that you will need to upgrade on your character. And let's say you get a weapon that you really like, but its power output is going to be low because you didn't specifically, roll into luck. With the press of a button and a consumable item, you can just do that with no problem. This game is just great. And, like, I understand that the sort of day-to-day combat of this game isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea, or whatever they primarily drink in France. What do they drink over there? Cheese water? I don't know.
Cheese water,
like,
wine.
Like, I promise that this game, if you're able to get past that gameplay loop, which there are various ways that you can. There's a story mode where you don't have to worry about like pairing or anything like that. Like, this game is an amazing experience, and like, this is from a first time developer with Sandfall Interactive. Like, this early in the generation, I honestly think that the only game that will probably surpass this as my game of the generation is honestly whatever Sandfall follows this game up with. This is going to be one of those games that is just going to be in my my yearly rotation of games, where right now I think I've sort of exhausted everything that I can do in the game, without necessarily going 100%, like completing it 100%. I guess I can go to New Game Plus, but I'm still very, very overpowered for New Game Plus. So, like, next year I'm just going to, start a brand new save file and just replay this game because it's just that good. Like, man, this there's a reason that this game is getting so much praise, you know. And I'm just glad to have experienced it. I wish that I could experience it again for the first time, but you know, that's how it is sometimes, and now it's just a matter of whenever Sandfall's next game comes out. So that is me waxing poetic on Expedition 33. Love this game. It'll definitely end up on Switch too, and you know, if you don't have a PC, you don't have a PS5, an Xbox, when this lands on Switch 2, I hope you play it because it's that fantastic.
They, I believe,
Awesome
have
game.
already stated they're looking into Switch 2. Yep.
Are they? Got it.
Yeah,
Or I don't know if they said that exactly or they want to do it, but yeah, it's been publicly discussed in some capacity.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yep. They sold 2 million copies within 10 days. Add another million for all these Switch only owners, because
Like me.
yeah, like you. This I don't know if you'll finish it, Jason, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Who knows about that, but I am curious to try it at least, yeah, given all the praise from you and what I've seen online, and it does seem like this kind of out of nowhere amazing experience, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Fantastic
that
game.
was.
Amazing game.
I mean, it's definitely on the list. I mean, honestly, the only thing that really sold me was that the combat is comparable to Mario Luigi or Paper Mario or any of those. Not that that's like a deal breaker necessarily, but you know, it's definitely my favorite type of RPG combat. I would say
Yeah, it's more dynamic.
a little. Well, not that it's more dynamic, because you can argue. Maybe I guess it can be. I mean, because you know, there's other, you know, RPG combat like in the Final Fantasies or even in the Tales games where you know there's
Sure.
there's
Yeah,
this
no,
real
that's
time
fair.
movement
Yeah.
at all times. Like there still isn't a turn based element, even though you can, you know, attack and dodge like kind of in real time. You know, I guess it depends on whether you want like the arena and the other kind of components. But you know, they're all. It's kind of great that they're all so different. Also, like I mean, it's a nice balance to have.
Yeah, that
so much-
raises a good side question about, like, I'm curious. I mean, they've talked about a little. It's not this game, but different types of RPG combat. I am curious, now that we know Pokemon Legends ZA will run well on a Switch 2, because they're making a Switch 2 edition in 4K and all, with good frame rate. I'm wondering how that battle system's going to be, because it's turn-based, but you do have free movement. You do have, speaking of dynamicness, you do have free movement. You are able to dodge just by sidestepping. Like, for a Nintendo-only gamer, that's not a very common type of battle system.
Yeah,
Maybe
it looks.
the Tales games kind of have it, but not, like, it's not super common on a Nintendo platform. So I am curious to try that and see what that's
Yeah,
like.
what's
and
interesting
compare
about
the dynamicness of that in like a Mario Luigi or Paper Mario or this game, or, you know.
Yeah, what's interesting about Zeta A so far, at least from what I've seen, is that it looks like it's more like, I guess, like Final Fantasy VII, where it's still just straight up turn based, except you're just on the timer. So it is but you know, but that ends up changing everything, because then it's like, oh, I could just use the move dig and just try to deal damage, but now if I time the move dig, I could use it to get under their move, and you know, it ends up being
Yeah.
more, I guess,
And you have to
quote
kind of
unquote,
anticipate where they're going to physically go, because they can move around. Just
yeah,
like you can
which
move
is
around. Yeah.
cool in theory. Like it adds a whole
Yeah,
new
it should be interesting.
element to Pokemon battles, but yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess might as well wrap up this the age of Jason fandoms with the Universal Fan Fest, which
Yeah,
I'm
talk
guessing
about
you
bookending
went
the episode.
only for one very specific fandom and not all of them, right?
Yeah, so take a wild guess. It was Nintendo. I already said it when I talked about Yoshi. But yeah, so for those who don't know what this is, Universal Studios did something new this year. It's the first time they're trying it out. You know Halloween Horror Nights, where basically the park shuts down early and then they open up some sound stages to have special walkthrough experiences, and there's some rides are open and some are, like, basically it's like half a normal Universal, half like a themed experience with extra attractions. And it's huge for them. They do it every year. They have big crossover events at these Halloween Horror Nights, you know, various horror movies. The Weeknd randomly does one. So they kind of took the idea of this, what if we do something in the park after hours, or, you know, scoot the closing time early. It can still do stuff in the park, but then you have these bonus experiences that are really, like, elaborate and thought out. But what if they're not scary? Like, during the fall, they have Halloween Horror Nights. What do they have during the spring that they can upsell people on? So they came up with this idea of FanFest. FanFest nights, excuse me. And basically, instead of scary things, they're big crossover brands and whatnot of nerdy things. So the idea, I think, if you were like pitch it internally at a meeting to sell Universal on it, is probably something like, what if we did Halloween Horror Nights but Comic-Con? So they encourage cosplay. They have anime. They have nerd stuff. They use the parts of the park that are themed, that align well with the nerdier interests. So Nintendo got some special stuff in the Nintendo World part of the park. Harry Potter got some special stuff in the Harry Potter World, or Harry Potter Hogsmeade and Hogwarts, whatever it's called, part of the park. And then they did these extra things. So there were, I think, 7 or 8 IPs in all. There was a couple anime. So One Piece had like a photo op and some food. Jujutsu Kaisen had something. Star Trek had something. Dungeons and Dragons had something. Harry Potter had something. Nintendo had something. And Back to the Future had something. I think that's the 7. And basically, it was like a mix of, like I was saying, stuff you could do normally in the park with all these bonus things. So, like, I initially went primarily for Nintendo. Rachel tagged along, 1, because it was my birthday weekend and I forced her, but 2, because Harry Potter was doing some stuff as well. And then we experienced a few of the other fandom activities. We didn't do all of them, but it was kind of interesting that they really tried to have like a diverse range of things. And because it was kind of Comic-Con-y, they encouraged cosplay and, you know, all that stuff. And they had themed food and special giveaways and that sort of thing. So for Nintendo, it was a bit more bare bones, admittedly, but I was cool with it because it's Nintendo. They set up a bunch of Yoshi stuff in the Nintendo section part. They're supposed to have a drone show as well, but some drone ordinances have changed in LA, so they couldn't do the drone show, but they're going to do like drone stuff above Nintendo World every half hour, and they had to cancel that. But the Yoshi stuff was kind of cool. Basically, they brought out the costume Yoshi from Japan, the green one, and they also introduced alternate color pink and blue Yoshis. The green one was on a 30-minute schedule. You could go meet him whenever, every 30 minutes. The pink and blue, you had to do a scavenger hunt through the Super Nintendo World part of the park to find, I want to say 5 hidden Yoshi eggs that they set up in nooks and crannies of Nintendo World. And the thing about Nintendo World is it's already, for those who have been, like you, Angel, it's already kind of video gamey, right? Like, you explore it, you try and find the hidden little things to tap your power band on to get extra coins. There are mini games you can do to get extra coins. Then you got like the main attraction of like Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, where there's like a score-based thing. You got the Bowser Jr. Castle, where there's another interactive thing, but it's kind of like you're in a big sandbox of a video game, sort of. And the Yoshi egg hunt, in a way, actually kind of reminded me of like finding the hidden red coins or whatever in Mario, where you just had to go find these 5 things, and they gave you, or the Yoshi coins, if you will, in Mario World, and they gave you a sticker. You got like a paper crown that you had. Each egg you got a sticker for, and then you got the 5 stickers. They gave you a gold Yoshi coin sticker, and then you took your crown with that sticker to a special spot where you could meet, either, depending on when you end up there, either a pink costume Yoshi or a blue costume Yoshi. And that was admittedly the extent of what Nintendo World offered in terms of activities. They had a bunch of Yoshi merch. And again, you know, I was saying, I probably should have paired this with the Mario movie talk when we were talking about the leak of it being called Mario World, but I was saying, you know, it feels like they're starting to ramp up Yoshi a little, maybe in anticipation of the movie. And this whole thing was very Yoshi. So there was the activity, there was Yoshi merch, they had magnets, they had jackets, they had bucket hats, they had backpacks, they had little plushes, they had big plushes that were like half of my body height. Like, they had a ton of Yoshi stuff. And then to go with that, they also did themed food at Toadstool Cafe. So there's a Yoshi fettuccine Alfredo, which was fine. Like, they had like a Yoshi egg, quote unquote, in the middle, which was like a piece of bread with some green. I don't want to call it mold because it wasn't mold and it tasted good, but it kind of looked like there were little like circular spots of mold on this piece of bread that made it look like a Yoshi egg. But then they also had a Yoshi apple melon smoothie, I think it was. And oh my God, that thing was good. I was shocked at how good that was. It was so good. Like, I would have paid admission just for that smooth. I don't understand why it was that good. I couldn't really tell you what was in it. I think it must have been like a vanilla ice cream base or something. And it was like really smooth and creamy and had really good like melon and like apple tartness. And it was just delicious. Like, I was shocked at how good it was. So they had that as well. But that was kind of the extent of what like the Yoshi activities were. And then similarly in like the Harry Potter section, they had a couple of things. They had a couple new costume character animatronics that you could like creatures from Harry Potter that you could interact with. And they had a Hogwarts light show with some fireworks that they did some really cool projection mapping on the Hogwarts castle. And it was like a 10-minute long little story about like you kind of went through all the beats of Harry Potter, like showing up at the school, getting the Sorting Hat, playing Quidditch, like all that. But what was interesting about that is that was an imported show from, I believe, the Florida Harry Potter park. And that was a lot of what was interesting about the stuff in the park is they were kind of picking and choosing different things from other parks to bring to FanFest because this was their first go at it. So I imagine they didn't want to invest a ton in all new stuff. So Harry Potter was pulling from Florida. Jujutsu Kaisen, its experience was in the Kung Fu Panda Theater. I didn't do this, but it was the 4D movie from the Osaka park was brought into the Kung Fu Panda Theater and was available for fans to watch. So it was like a whole sit-down, wrap-around screen experience. And then they had some food. And then where they really invested the most money were experiences that they couldn't like drop in from other parks. So Dungeons and Dragons was a whole walkthrough experience, very reminiscent of like a kind of a brand activation we would do, like an offsite we would do at Comic-Con, where you kind of go room to room and there's actors and they're doing stuff and it's all like really well, like it's very well dressed. Like the setup is it has like a good set pieces and things like that. But this just had a little more budget. The Dungeons & Dragons ones actually ended with a huge Jim Henson Workshop made animatronic of some one-eyed Cyclops tentacle guy from Dungeons & Dragons. But like you could tell they really tried to appeal to the fans because there are all these little nooks and crannies. And you could just, while you're standing there and the actors are doing their thing, you could like look around and there are all these little references and little posters and things and different items from the game. I saw like one of the chests with the tongue that comes out just kind of in the side sitting there. Like there's a lot of little like winks and nods and it was very well themed. And then Star Trek I didn't do, but I heard it was a similar thing. They actually brought in the bridge of the ship from Picard, like the actual set from Picard, I believe. I think it was Picard. And you could like, that's where it took place. Like they rebuilt the set on a soundstage. So that's kind of cool if you're a Star Trek fan. So they're kind of like doing bits and bobs. And there's some heavy investments and stuff like, the animatronic from Jim Henson and whatnot. But you could see that was kind of like a first pass and they were piecing together different things. One of the most interesting experiences, though, was Back to the Future. So for those who aren't super familiar with Universal Studios, Hollywood, when you do the tram tour, they take you to the back lot where Back to the Future was filmed. Like the clock tower is there. The courtyard, like the square is there. Like it's all there. So they redressed the set like it was Back to the Future. And you took the tram down and they had a special video and it was like, oh, you're going back in time. Like this tram's going to take you through and all that. And then when you get there, they're recreating all the different beats of the movie around you in the square. So they have all these hired actors who are being, Biff, who are being Marty, who are being Doc Brown. They even have dogs who are being Einstein, and you could do a photo op with them inside a DeLorean. But they had all these like little setups throughout. And like with a lot of the like Comic-Con offsites we've been to over the years, you could choose to engage and, sometimes the actors would riff with you, or you could kind of step back and let them just do their thing. It's not quite as engaging. The one I think the parallel I'm best drawing here is when we did the Blade Runner one for 2049. Angel, you and I did. I don't remember if you did it, Kevin, but basically they dumped you in like a street from Blade Runner at Comic-Con. And actors would walk up to you and you can interact with them, or you could just kind of beeline your way through and go out. But the longer you kind of sat in it and experienced it, like the more you got out of it. And the Back to the Future thing was very similar because you could go up to any of these characters and start talking to them or start egging them on or whatever, and they would engage appropriately with you while still continuing to do the beats of the movie, whether it's, his dad getting punched by Biff or like, the kiss at the dance, or they did like the Johnny B. Good like rock guitar moment. Like they did all of it around you as you're walking around. And then they had like the clock tower strike with a pyrotechnic kind of recreating the lightning. And it was really cool. Like if you're a big fan of Back to the Future, I imagine it was really cool to be able to like be in it, quote unquote, on the actual backlot where it was filmed, using the actual buildings where it was filmed. So there's like stuff like that. And I think what was nice for me, because obviously my big fandom was Nintendo, is even if I didn't care enough about some of the other stuff and didn't want to appreciate the Back to the Future stuff or the Harry Potter stuff or the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, they also, because they wanted everything to be accessible, like because they were walkthrough experiences and they didn't have churn for that because they would move you in groups like a Comic-Con offsite, they kept the capacity low for the night. So it was also a great way to just experience Universal Studios with low capacity. It was like maybe a third of what the park can hold or something like that. It was a third of what they do for Halloween Horror Nights. So
that's pretty cool.
Mario Kart had no more than 10-minute wait. Actually, at one point it had 0 wait because I did single rider one time because Rachel tapped out. So I went straight in and just walked right up. It was great. I did it multiple times. Jurassic World, the ride for that, well, I think you would get wet, so I didn't do it, but I saw it had like a 5-minute wait. Like, nothing had waits. So even if you just wanted a night at Universal with some extra flourishes of like a delicious Yoshi smoothie and maybe meeting a costume character or seeing a Harry Potter fireworks show or going and meeting Einstein the dog from Back to the Future, like even if it was just bare minimum, I want to do some rides and I'll get those perks, is a really great way to spend the night because it's only like $80 or $90 and you get basically 2/3 of the park, half of the park, plus all these bonuses. So, and all the restaurants stayed open and every restaurant had special themed food and it was just a really cool experience. And you could tell it was their first time. Like I said, they kind of were importing different things from different places. But it feels like the potential, and they again invested in some things. Obviously, they had to get all these actors from Back to the Future, the animatronic I mentioned. They had to craft these Yoshi costumes in alternate colors. They had to bring in the stuff for the Harry Potter light projection. So it's not like they didn't do anything of note, but it definitely felt kind of like a litmus test to see how it goes. And I'm hoping it did well enough for them that they choose to do it again and keep that low max occupancy, because it made for a very fun night at Universal. And the gears are turning for me about like what they could do with Nintendo, especially if they do it next spring, especially if they do it in tandem with the Mario movie coming out, especially if the Mario movie is Mario World, because I could totally see them do something with the Koopalings. I don't know what exactly that would entail, but you got 7 characters that normally are not part of the park that could perfectly coincide if they're in the movie. So like it just seems like there's so much potential for FanFest nights to like turn into something bigger, but it was cool to have it anchored in some parts of the park that I already enjoyed and are my big fandom, but then also be able to like dabble in other things. Like the Back to the Future thing I would not have sought out, but it was a cool experience to be able to go to. And Dungeons & Dragons really well done. The animatronic was super cool. I never would have sought that out otherwise. So, if I didn't happen to already be there. So I'm down for them doing this again and using like Nintendo as kind of the anchor that gets me there, or like the linchpin of why I go, and then I go explore these other fandoms. And like we were there like 7 hours and we still didn't do anything. Like there's a lot to do, but nothing had waits. It was really nice. It was a really cool experience. So yeah, that's kind of what FanFest is all about and where I hope it goes next. And yeah,
I can't say I've heard, at least on my end, much. Then again, I haven't looked too much into it, but I hope it does well because I love the idea of it, and it definitely looks like something that could be, easily adjustable to just whatever's popular at the time, or even nostalgic, or just like whatever needs to be, hit just right. So I don't know, looking forward to eventually going to one. I mean, it seems like it'd be the perfect place to debut like a Bowser like character costume. So
totally
see them doing
and
that.
I do think, and I would pair it the Koopalings as well. Bowser and his Koopalings. Like maybe next year, even if they want to just riff on the same thing, make it a Koopaling scavenger hunt, and then you meet Bowser. Like easy enough, but it would get me back. I do want to point out though, I went in kind of with like this narrow scope. I just care about the Nintendo stuff. I know it's kind of light in terms of content, so to speak. So I was fine. But for folks who like wanted the anime side, like the One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen stuff, One Piece was literally just a photo op with a couple people that were basically cosplaying as the characters. Jujutsu was just the movie plus like a food. So like, depending on the fandom that drew you in, there's probably more room for improvement than others. I had the advantage that the fandom already had a physical huge presence at the park because it was Nintendo and Nintendo World. So your mileage may vary depending on the fandoms. But assuming they scale it up and do more, assuming Nintendo continues to be like one of the tent poles of it, I would 1,000% go back. It was really cool. So for my purposes, it was really cool. And again, that Yoshi smoothie, I don't understand how it was so good. I don't understand what was in it, but yeah, if that becomes a permanent menu item, That'd be spectacular. so yeah, that's pretty much FanFest nights and my fandoms in a nutshell.
Which Yoshis did you take photos with again?
So I got to meet the green Yoshi, as everyone did, but I also got to meet the pink Yoshi.
Pink Yoshi.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones?
Yeah. There was also the blue, but blue and pink alternated. Little did I know, if you just went back with your crown of all the Yoshi eggs and the gold Yoshi sticker, you could do it a second time. So I could have met the blue had I known, because they alternate. It's basically a way for them to let one person take a break, right? They just switch out the color. So I could have done that, but I didn't. The one funny anecdote I'll mention. So even though the Yoshi stuff was pretty simplistic in the grand scheme of things, I was reading going into it. Like I was like trying to map out my night because, we only had so many hours and I thought there might be long lines. And there were long lines for one thing and one thing only, meeting the pink and blue Yoshi. Apparently the first couple weekends, this thing only ran for 4 or 5 weekends total. It was a lot. They did a lot for a very small event. Like they built that crazy animatronic for 5 weekends. Like that's a big investment for a very small amount of time. But what was I going to say? I was reading that the Yoshi line was crazy long because how you had to do the scavenger hunt is you go to each of these spots where the egg is, and then there's a staff member there, and then you get the sticker from the staff member, and they put it on your crown, and then you go to the next one, and da-da-da-da-da. And apparently a ton of people were trying to meet Yoshi, so the line to meet Yoshi became at one point in the early weekends over 2 hours long. And I was like, oh, well, we got to meet Yoshi. That's why we're here. I'm sorry I'm subjecting you to this, Rachel, but it's happening. So when we got to the park, we bought early entry prior to even knowing that the Yoshi line was long. We got like an extra hour. Nintendo World, of course, wasn't included in that hour, but we kind of camped out near Nintendo. And then we sort of like sprinted from egg to egg. And we were like, moving a mile a minute. We were like working up a sweat. And then, of course, thinking, oh, we got to get to the Yoshi. The line's going to be so long. And we get to Pink Yoshi and there's 0 line. And we just walk right in and take the picture. And then I went back to look later that night and the line was no longer than maybe half an hour. So go figure. The one thing I thought would have a really long line did every weekend except the night we were there. Maybe because it was a Sunday night we went. And we hustled and bustled for basically nothing because we saved 30 minutes, I guess. But and we camped out for like an hour in front of Nintendo World to save 30 minutes. So really we were at a net loss of 30 minutes. But it was still a really cool experience. And Pink Yoshi was very nice. And they had it set up in a cool thing where you like enter a hallway that looks kind of like Yoshi's story. Like they retrofit a piece of the Mario Kart line to use for this. So it's the part where you're walking through the Yoshi area, like the spillover portion that they don't always use. They kind of funnel you in. So Yoshi's at like this end of a corridor and you're like walking into what feels like Yoshi's Island. There's like trees and stuff and like the smiling heart like perfectly framing Yoshi, and you're walking in and Yoshi's like all excited to see you. And I'm a 36-year-old man, but it was very exciting to meet Pink Yoshi that way. So yeah.
Oh, bless your little heart.
Yep,
well,
indeed.
Unless there's any other piece of consumed media, I guess we could throw it back to Jason, unless Kevin wants to do the housekeeping this time around.
Absolutely not.
All right. Hi again, everybody. It's Jason. You just heard me talk. So yeah, we are back in a few weeks' time with another episode, and to make sure you don't miss it, actually things are getting interesting because we are coming up on Switch 2. We're not there yet, but I think our next episode, if timing is correct, might be the final episode of the Switch 1 era, believe it or not. So make sure you don't miss that episode and whatever that may entail. Follow us on all the podcast apps you may use. Presumably you just have one, but there are many to choose from. It could be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, YouTube if that's your cup of tea. We are at Ram Nintendo on there. We're also on Twitter at Ram Nintendo. We can get updates on episodes there. And individually, you can hit us up on the socials and see what we have to say about life. I am JSR7 on Threads and Twitter. Kevin is KVN Gomi on Twitter and Blue Sky. And Angel is World of Weros with an S on the end at Instagram. So that does it for me.
Thank you, Jason. All right. We'll throw
Anytime.
it to Kevin for the final word.
I feel like I've done the final word for like the last 5 episodes.
Really? I guess that means that no one ever throws it to me because I usually bounce it between you two. But then again, Jason sees the housekeeping, so
Angel,
I don't want to hear the
Angel,
and he usually says the thing before.
Final word. Go ahead. I've thrown to you. Final word.
All right. On 3, we'll stop recording. On go, we'll stop recording. 3, 2,